Hey, good morning everyone. Welcome back to Redneck Coachworks. Sunday morning, a little blustery. We've had about a 36-hour storm and I got snow everywhere. I got the old Ford 7600 plugged in, hoping I'm going to be able to push a little bit of snow out of the way. I might take you out and show you a little video of what's all the snow drifts and everything we got out the back there. But right now I'm working on the floor for the Packard. It's the section from under the front seat to just under the back seat, I believe is what it is. So been studying it and breaking it down into manageable pieces. So I'll just show you what I got going on there. I've got a couple pieces built already. I've got the front section where the battery goes right here. What I did, I got quite a few pieces cut and made here, but so the actual piece of the floor is pretty complicated. It's got the front section that's got a 90 and a 90 broke on it. There's a section of wood goes underneath there. There's another section of wood goes under here. And then it's got this recessed area in the center that comes back, and it's kind of tipped up in a square that opens up at the back here. It's got, I don't know, probably a 10-degree break, comes up at an angle. And then I believe the center of it was supposed to be flat and straight across. And then it's got a bunch of beads rolled into it, as well as these two long, I guess you could call them beads as well, but I'm not going to be able to do them exactly the same as what they are, just because I don't have the proper tools to do it. So right around the edge of this drop-down pan, it's got a 90 broke, and then where the panel come out, and that's where I was having trouble figuring out how I was going to do that. So what I did to make this whole floor pan was I broke it down into roughly 4 pieces or 5 pieces. I've got the front section, I've got 2 side sections that intersect right here, and then I'm going to have the center section that I'll make in one piece. And I may have to make these pieces at the back here in 2 separates because they have a bunch of compound curves. So on the front piece, which was the first one I built, fairly complicated. It had the 2 edges broke on the front. This one I did in my brake. This one I had to do on my piece of I-beam that I have over there. Works good for making flanges and stuff. Then on the back edge, this is the front edge of the floor here that drops into the pan. What I did on that was I used my bead roller with the biggest offset dies, and I turned that down. But what I'm going to do is the angle on this piece here that's turned down, I'm going to keep that at that 10 degrees so that when I make the center insert, it's going to sit flush on top of this, and then I can plug weld it all the way across there, seam seal it, and it should be just as good as original because it'll be double thickness there. So this had a little bit of, I had to cut the hole for the battery box, and it had these 2 rectangle beads put in it. And the method I used for doing that is I took 2 pieces of old scrap computer desk MDF, and I routed a slot in the center. This one is approximately 1/4 inch deep. That went on the bottom. This one went on top. And I just put in 3 screws to tie the 2 pieces together so they stayed center. And then I used my air chisel with a flat bit on it that I have rounded over. If I can get that in some decent light. It's got nice tapered edge on it. And I use that and slowly beat these beads in. They didn't turn out too bad. They're a little bit rough in the bottom, but it's a floor that's going to end up covered with carpet. So that's the front piece. Let me just get stuff sorted around, get rid of some junk. Problem with making this kind of stuff, it takes quite a while, and then you end up throwing it away because you never use it again. So I got the floor section here. Try and get it straightened out. And then I made a pattern, an exact pattern, beer can CAD, or beer case CAD for the sides here. We have the pattern all the way up, including the flange that gets turned down, and then it's got this complicated little flange that goes around the B pillar here as well. So what I did on this was the same as the back edge of the front piece, using my wide spacing dies on the bead roller. I put this bead in with the flange, and then I used the 1/8 offset dies, and I put this in here. This has all got to be trimmed out yet. So this will be the driver's side. It's going to go, needs a little bit of trimming yet on that front. It will go underneath here and get plug welded, and then these two edges here, I'll 45 them so that it makes a nice spot for the centerpiece to fit in. So now I'm just, I've got the passenger side cut out, and I'm just going to put the long bead in that goes from front to back on it here. So I'll get set up and then I'll show you that. It's quite a process when you're turning the bead roller and trying to feed it through by yourself. Okay, I'm all set up here. What I've done is I put a big washer on the outside of my die to use as a guide to try and keep this as straight as I can. I'm going to have to run this through twice to get the depth I need. Oh yeah, keep forgetting the tools over here. I'll try not to knock you off your feet there, so just going to snug this just a touch more. I haven't been treating my bead roller very nice lately, so it's getting kind of beat up. I really want to build a new one, the same as Carl Fisher's from Make It Custom, with an electric motor, just to make this a whole lot easier, because turning the wheel and guiding the piece of steel can be real challenging at times. Anybody that's got one of these cheap bead rollers knows what I'm talking about. I think this washer guide is really helping. I didn't have it for the last one and I ended up fairly crooked, so we'll see how straight this one is once I pull it all the way through. Oh yeah, and it's real critical that you watch that you're going the right direction. You're bending the steel the right way, so excuse my arm, just going to come out the end. Okay, so we got a start on it here now. As you can see, I've got a nice straight line. So I'm going to run it through again, a little bit deeper this time, and just to see how this works out. So I'll get it set in here, get it started a little bit. Oop, climbing on top. I'll give it another turn. And just watch what's happening. So the washer's working really good as a guide. I think we'll see when it's all done anyhow. Seems to be following the line pretty nice. Okay, as you can see, we got a pretty nice straight line. It's developing a bit of a curve this way, which is easy to get out on my piece of I-beam there. So I'm going to keep running this through. It looks like I'm going to have to do another round here, so I'll bring you back when it's done. Okay, so I got it done in the bead roller. I've got the depth I required. I have it clamped down to my piece of I-beam. I've got all my percussion instruments here, and now I'm about to start making a whole lot of noise. I'm just going to crisp up the edge, get this curve out of it that the bead roller put in, get the flange facing down at the proper 10-degree angle, and then I can carry on shaping the back end of it where it comes up on the back end of the floor here. Get those curves in, and then I can start on the center insert piece, and I'll bring you back once I get things a little bit further along. Okay guys, we're back. I've got the two side pieces all shaped. The back end is just roughly shaped until I get the center piece done that goes in the middle here. I measured and measured and measured. I've got 4 reference points on the old floor. I measure from this point to the kick out here, and from the kick out here to the other side, and then I did a corner-wise measurement to make sure it was all square, and then I ran clecos in on this lap joint on both sides to keep those in place. So next thing I've got to do here is measure out, lay out the center insert, get it cut, roll my beads in it, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to split where it comes up on each side. I'm going to split it in the center here so that these can come up, and then I can weld that seam, and then I can lay this into my flanges here and rosebud or plug weld it. So that'll be the next thing I'm going to do right after I take you outside and show you all the snow I had to move yesterday. The sun's just coming up. I spent 2.5 hours on the tractor yesterday. Oh, we got a bit of a breeze as usual, so we got great big piles everywhere. We were so plugged up here I couldn't hardly move around. The wife's van was useless, so anyhow, she's going to be a while melting this year, so that's about what we got going out here. A little breezy and cold this morning, so I'm going to stay in the shop where it's nice and warm and continue working on this Packard floor. Hopefully I'm going to get this done and can be delivered either Wednesday or Thursday. And then this weekend, she's get ready for the safety inspection in Lethbridge and get the Fargo out there. So we'll be back shortly, guys. Okay, so I've got this piece all cut out. The center drop down area of the floor. I've got all my layout marks done. The ones around the edges here is where it gets broke. That slight angle it comes up to give it its dish. In the center, I've got these deep grooves are marked out. I've got the X's marked, and then there's a little bead that goes across this way. These are all half round, and these are a flat bottom one, just like over here. So the X's, little one that goes across, and then those 2 deep ones in the center there. So what I'm going to do is pre-stretch everything on the English wheel. Just going to run the English wheel back and forth just to give a little stretch on this, get them ready for doing the bead rolling. What that'll do is it'll lessen the amount of deformation that'll happen on the sheet once I do the the beads in it. So that's my next step. I'll get started on that here right away. So we're back with more progress on the Packard floor here. Yesterday was one of those days that I'm really glad I didn't videotape, because I'm sure there was all kinds of blue smoke coming out of this shop. Nothing but cussing and swearing, and Murphy was on my back all day. So problem with equipment, my bead roller, last time I used it, the adjusting nut that does the pressure, the nut stripped out, so I built a new one using a 1/2 inch threaded rod joining nut. I figured with it being 2 inches long, it would give me lots of thread content and not strip out on me. So what happened was I was in the middle of rolling the beads in the center of the floor pan here, and this thing galled up and seized up, and I couldn't release the panel out of it. That ended up being a real nightmare, which caused me, it's got quite a bit of warpage in it that I got to try and figure out how to get out today. I'm thinking I can run it through the planishing hammer and stretch some of the areas where it gobbled up all the steel there. So in the meantime, I had to make a new mount. I went bigger again, lots of grease on it, and a grade 8 bolt. See how that works for us. So in the meantime here, I've got this piece all bead rolled. I've got it broke, and as you can see, it's got some pretty wicked twists in it. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it to my planishing hammer, and I'm going to work all of these areas to try and stretch the steel back out and try and get it to lay flat here. That's either going to work, or I'm going to destroy the panel completely and I'll have to start all over again. So I'm really hoping today goes a whole lot better than it did yesterday. Pretty frustrating, everything buggering up and screwing up on me. So anyhow, I'm going to try straightening this out and I can bring you back. Okay guys, so after 2.5 hours of beating my brains out and making this piece of tin succumb to my wishes, I've got it clecoed together, all measured up, everything's square. All of the measurements seem to be working out for me. So next thing I'm going to do is take the center piece out. I'm going to drill all the holes for all my welds to weld it all together there, and then I can start doing the final assembly on these 5 pieces here, and then or 4 pieces, and then I'm going to have to make 2 small filler pieces to go in and do these corners. They're kind of tricky, as even the factory had trouble. They had a bunch of wrinkles and everything that come in here. So I'm going to work on those after I get this all tacked together, get this back edge all squared up and true, and then it is going to, at the proper height, I've got to roll a 90 on here, about 1/4 of an inch. I'm a little over that right now, about 1/2 inch, because it's too hard to manipulate 1/4 of an inch. So I'm going to carry on here, get all these holes drilled, and hopefully I can get this all tacked together and everything. So, okay, we'll be back here. Okay guys, we're back again. There's another 6 hours of my life that I'm not going to get back, but I'm closing in on this Packard floor now. I got the back corners taken care of. This weird shape here on both sides was a real pain to do. Lots of hammering, cussing, swearing, but it's in there. What I've got left to do is the top edge of this needs to be broke at 90 degrees facing back. So I still have that to do. I've got to flip it over, grind the bottom side, And then I got to get the whole thing a good sanding. And then I've got, I think there's 8 carriage bolt holes that I have to drill the holes and then square them off with a square file. So I'm hoping to have this all done tomorrow and ready for delivery. So I'll bring you back here after I spend another 3 or 4 hours beating and hammering and getting shit done. Okay guys, we're back on this Packard floor. Pretty much wrapped it up over the last day and a half and a whole bunch more hours. I'll just show it to you here. So here's the new floor. And here's the old floor. I'm hoping it's gonna be a drop-in fit. It looks pretty close. My measurements are all good. I got everything sanded down with 80 grit. I seam sealed the center insert. Building these back corners was a pain in the ass. But it looks like it's going to work. They'll know better once they get it all fit and into the car. So that's where I'm going to leave this one, and we'll go from there. This weekend, today is Thursday, we're taking the Fargo for its first test drive and a tank of fuel on Saturday morning. Sunday it's going to get loaded up and it's going to Lethbridge, Alberta, or Coaldale, Alberta, and Monday morning is the safety. So I'm hoping to do a bunch of video of that, just to keep you up to speed on what's happening there. So thanks for tuning in, thanks for subscribing, and we'll catch you on the next one, guys.